Hello and happy New Year's Eve. Welcome finally to the end of 2020. Before I start, this has been a wild year for absolutely everyone. I know I cannot wait until 2021, but I do want to take a moment to just thank you all for being here with me this year. We hit 5K this year. I did some really cool collab interview things. It was just a really fun year for YouTube. I was glad that despite everything happening in the world, I had more time to focus on YouTube. So thank you so much for being here. If you're new, if you joined this year, if you've been here for longer than that, thank you. I appreciate you. So today I'm very excited to do this. I did one of these videos last year where it was the best and worst of 2019, where I had my top 10 shows, movies, and also my top worst shows and movies. I'm not doing the worst this year because I don't have a concrete list of oh, these were bad. And I didn't last year either, except for the top few. There were a lot of things I watched this year that I was just very meh with, but I just don't feel like doing the negative list. I just don't really have any strong opinions of things to tear apart, but I do have top 10 movies, top 10 albums, which I didn't do last year, and TV is split into two different categories. I have top 10 miniseries and debuts, so first seasons kind of thing, and then I have a top 5 ongoing series, so sequel seasons of shows that were already a thing. And my criteria for this is that I only rank them of stuff that released in 2020. So even if I saw something for the first time in 2020, if it came out in a different year, that doesn't go in these lists for me, because I like having to look back on okay, these were the releases of 2020. So that's how we're doing it today. The movies list, I'm warning you now, is incredibly disappointing because this has just been an awful year for movies, to be quite frank, with the closing of the movie theaters, and I'm just not super impressed by anything on my movie list, to be honest. However, it was an excellent year for TV, hence why I have 15 options instead of 10. I think it was a better year for TV this year than last year. So without further ado, we're going to start off with albums, because I kind of want to get that out of the way first, and then go into the visual medium stuff. I'm going to try to put timestamps of the different things, so if you just want to see what I have to say about miniseries, you can go do that. Anyway, albums. I totally forgot to mention this, but I have a playlist on my Spotify of the best of 2020. So this it's my top songs from each of these albums that I talk about, and singles and stuff that I didn't get to talk about in this video. Billie Eilish's stuff, songs from shows and things, that's all in that list. So if you want to hear all my best music of 2020, I will link that below. So, number 10, I just gotta do a cheeky little shout out to my girl, Jordan. Jordan's album, Identity Crisis. You can stream it everywhere that albums can be streamed. It's number 10 on my list. It's a serve. It's an absolute serve. I know I'm incredibly biased because Jordan is my friend, but I wanted to give her a little moment. Anyway, highlights from this album. My favorite song is One For Me. I listen to it on the daily. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, biased or not, towards Jordan, I listen to this on the daily. So yeah, the One For Me, absolute bop. Also, shout out to Control and Druggin' You. That would probably be my top 3. It's a great album. If you haven't listened to it, you should. Number 9, Folklore. So I am not on the absolute Taylor Swift obsession hype train that everyone else seems to be on. However, I don't love these two albums as much as everyone else does, but I haven't really been into Taylor Swift since I was 9 and Fearless came out, I respect her so much as an artist. I feel if you don't, you're a misogynist. I hate to be that person, but but Folklore is number 9 on this list. I don't gravitate towards it. I don't listen to it very often, but I recognize that it's an incredibly good album, and I hope it wins all the Grammys. Top 3, The One, fave, easy. Cardigan, basic. Betty, good shit. Also, Last Great American Dynasty is really good. I don't know. Those are the only ones that I really listen to. I'm sorry. Come attack me if you want. Number 8 is Evermore. I do like Evermore. more than Folklore. I think it's just because, like, it has some, like, more upbeat songs. I hate to be that person that's like, oh, I don't like mellow, sad music, but I just, like, it's not that I don't like it, I just, like, never listen to it. So, like, Folklore and, like, the majority of Evermore are, like, albums that I don't really gravitate to because I'm, like, I don't really want to listen to, like, slow music. So that, with that being said, my top 3 on Evermore: No Body, No Crime, period. Gold Rush, Champagne Problems. What do you want me to say? Number 7, In a Dream by Troye Sivan. This was his EP this year. I think this is such a strong EP. Except I never listened to Take Yourself Home or Could Cry Just Thinking About You. But the other ones are like really good songs of his. Top 3, In a Dream, Easy, Rage Your Teenager, bops all around. Oh, I don't listen to 10 out of 10 either. Ooh, I'm sorry, Troy. Number 6, Wonder by Shawn Mendes. If you had told me, like, a year ago that a Shawn Mendes album would be topping a Troye Sivan EP in my top 10 list, I would have laughed in your face. I don't, like, listen to Shawn Mendes, right? This album is so good. I don't know why. I went and listened to it because I listened to Wonder and I listened to Monster when those singles were both released, and I was like, okay, these kind of slap. And then I went and listened to the album, and it's such a good album. Oh my god, it's such a good album. Like, whether you like pop music, whether you like Shawn Mendes or not, I think it's such a good album. Oof, top 3, Teach Me How to Love, 305, Look Up at the Stars, shout out to Piece of You and Monster. It's a great album. I love it. Number 5, Plastic Hearts by Miss Miley Cyrus. This album is a total serve. Like, bitch just came out with, like, the best rock and roll album of the year, and it's amazing. I'm just glad that she is here and she is thriving her rock and roll dreams. I think it's such a good album. Top 3 on this, What the Fuck Do I Know, Plastic Hearts, Prisoner, shout out to Night Crawling, oh, and Midnight Sky. Actually, wait, the Midnight Sky remix with Edge of 17 featuring Stevie Nicks is my favorite on this album. But other than, it's just great. It's great all around. Also, what is it? Golden G-String, great song. Oh, it's so good. Number 4, Positions by Miss Ariana Grande. Fantastic album. Objectively, it's a great album, right? I do think that Thank You Next is her best album, so feel free to judge me as you will with that information. I think Thank You Next is just, like, an incredible moment. However, Positions, a serve. I think she just seems so happy now, and I feel like this is, like, the true Ariana. I absolutely am going to see her in concert once COVID permits. Like, I'm going to see fucking everybody. If I like their album, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be there, because, like, I miss concerts so much. Anyway, top 3, Love Language, POV, My Hair, top in her discography. Honestly, like, discography, career highlights, those 3, so good. Oh my god. Also, shout out to 3435 and Motive. I like Motive. I won't take any Motive slander on this page. I think it's an absolute bop. Number 3, Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. I was so late to this album. I, like, had heard, like, a couple of the songs earlier in the year when it came out. I didn't actually, like, start listening to this album until, like, a month ago. Album of the year. Album of the year. Miss Dua Lipa is a superstar. Like, this album is fabulous. So I could not sing the praises of this album enough. I just think it's, like, a perfect pop album, and I'm not even that into pop, really, which is... See, I look like a liar looking at this list, saying, oh, I don't really listen to pop. Whatever. Top 3, Love Again, best song on this album. Levitating, Good in Bed, easy. Shoutouts to Future Nostalgia, Pretty Please, Physical, Don't Start Now, every song on this album, it's a 10 out of 10. Number 2, After School by Miss Melanie Martinez. Melanie's my girl. She's probably, like, my favorite artist. I saw her in concert last October. Fantastic concert, one of the best I've been to. She hasn't made anything bad yet. This is, like, her 5th release, if you're counting, like, Dollhouse EP, Crybaby Extra Clutter, K through 12, After School. I think this After School EP is one of the highlights of her career thus far. My top 3 songs are Glued, Notebook, and Field Trip. Glued is a career highlight. If you don't think that Glued is in the top 3 of, like, best Melanie songs from her entire discography, listen to it again. Listen to it again. This is a 10 out of 10 album. This is a no skip album. The only potential skip for me would be Numbers, but it's still a really excellent song, and the bridge is really good. This is an excellent, excellent EP. And the fact that she just kind of like dropped this randomly and like didn't even put Fire Drill and Copycat on it, like it was all new songs. Her power. I just am always excited for the future of Melanie Martinez. I just love the way that she uses storytelling and her aesthetic and whatever in her albums. It's so, I went to like her movie premiere of K through 12, and Disney Springs. Like I'm here for her. I love her. I love her sound. I think she's so unique, and I'm a stan. And number one, the number one album of the year for me, this is actually going to be a bit of a shake-up from the rest of the kind of vibe of this list, the new Abnormal by The Strokes. This was like the quarantine album for me, first of all, because this came out at like the beginning of quarantine, and this like cured my depression, basically. I was never like super into The Strokes, but like Reptilia is like one of the greatest rock songs of all time, objectively. But like this album is just like resonated with my soul. Ode to the Mets, one of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life. Ode to the Mets is like the best that music has to offer. That being said, top 3, Ode to the Mets, The Adults Are Talking, Why Are Sundays So Depressing? Perfection. Musical perfection. If you have not listened to this album, chop chop. Especially if you're a Boreo fan, this is such a Boreo album. Okay, great. Okay, that's albums. Let's go on and get movies out of the way, because, like I said, the movies this year are just disappointing. Like, looking at this list in comparison to last year's list, which, like, just a reminder, my top 4 were It Chapter 2, The Goldfinch, Dr. Sleep, and Midsommar. Like, this is nowhere close to, like, the care I have for those. With that being said, let's jump right into it. Number 10, Palm Springs. This was a Hulu movie. This came out, like, mid-quarantine. It was, like... Well, it was, oh my god. I don't know how to explain this movie without spoiling it, but it was really funny, and I would recommend it. I think it's good. Why do I make YouTube videos? Number 9, I'm thinking of ending things on Netflix. I have like such like mixed feelings about this movie because it's objectively like very, very good. And I think the first half of it is very, very good. Like I think the whole sequence in like the car ride to the parents' house and the parents' house with Miss Toni Collette front and center is like nearly flawless. And like the second half of the movie kind of loses me. The end is pretty weak. And I'm very interested in like reading the book at some point because I just think that this like story is so interesting. This is just like such like film kid culture kind of thing, like this movie, like it just ticks so many of the boxes that I look for in my like cynical film kid brain, and for that reason it's on this list. Number 8, The Prom. I am just as shocked as you are. I am just as shocked as you are that The Prom musical directed by Ryan Murphy is on my top 10 movies list of the year. That's honestly embarrassing. It's a bit embarrassing, I will admit. However, I went into this movie with such low expectations, less to none, because of all the controversy, you know, I'm a theater kid. I'm a theater kid at heart, a theater kid for most of my life. So like familiar with the Prom musical and all the controversy that surrounded this movie when all this was happening. So I went in like expecting nothing. I was like, I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna be dumb. And I was on the floor. I was like, I had such a good time watching this movie. I recognize all of the issues that it has, right? Both in like the production and like the things that were taken out and all the casting. I understand and I agree. However, this movie is a blast. The cast, like Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman and Andrew Rannells, and Love Thy Neighbor. Can we like, I would just like to, cause like, listen, Ryan Murphy is a very hit or miss guy. Like, he either makes like masterpieces or total flops. And I really thought this was gonna be a total flop. But then he gave us Love Thy Neighbor performed by the Andrew Rannells, and suddenly I have to stand. So yeah, I love it. I'm definitely gonna go watch it again. I just thought it was very fun and very lighthearted, and once again I recognize all the problems that lie within it, but it's fun and I enjoy it objectively. So this is when you know it's been a bad year for movies, when you have to start putting TV specials on your top 10 movie list. Number 7, Adventure Time, Distant Lands, Obsidian. I'm counting this as a movie because it's like, what, like an hour long, like isolated mini, whatever. I'm counting it on this list. Adventure Time Obsidian owns my entire soul. They really gave us the full lesbian bubbly and love story that Cartoon Network could never give us. On HBO, it's everything. The song Monster, it's on my playlist every day. It's on my playlist every day. Marceline, the Vampire Queen, defined me as a human being. I owe my life to her. Let's move on. Number 6 is Horse Girl. I feel like this movie came out in like March. It was a while ago, and I haven't seen it since then. No, February. Oh my god, it came out in February. What the fuck? Great movie, great sort of like psychological thriller type Netflix film. One of those where I can't really say anything about it without like spoiling it, but I definitely did talk about it in whatever recap month that it came out in that I watched. Moving on. Number 5, The Invisible Man. This, I watched again the other night with my parents because I hadn't seen it. This is such a good movie. Like, people are sleeping on this movie. The Invisible Man starring Elizabeth Moss. It was a Blumhouse movie. Blumhouse is incredibly hit or miss, and you know, I feel like every horror fan like myself can say that, where Blumhouse makes like really good movies every once in a while, and they make this like total utter blockbuster jump scare fest. This was a good one. This was a very, very good movie. I thought that this did suspense brilliantly. I thought Elizabeth Moss was brilliant. I love the cinematography, like all the wide shots that they do to sort of like let the audience figure out where the Invisible Man is. I just think this is such a good movie, and I feel even more strongly so after watching it the other night because I haven't seen this since like March when it came out. I might honestly I would probably maybe switch this with my number 4. I feel like this and my number 4 are very interchangeable, but with that being said, number 4, Run! Ooh, this was a Hulu movie starring Miss Sarah Paulson, my favorite human being on the planet. This was your classic Munchausen by proxy story. I feel so conflicted about Munchausen by proxy stories because part of me is like, oh my god, I'm so tired of them. Like enough Munchausen by proxy stories. But then at the same time, I've never seen a bad one. I have never seen a bad Munchausen by proxy story. From The Act, to Sharp Objects, to It, to this. Like, I have never seen, like, I personally have never watched a bad Munchausen by proxy storyline. So, like, while part of me is like, oh my god, enough, I'm also like, they haven't disappointed me yet, and that applies to this. This was a great movie. It was about this mother and her daughter is very ill, and you're kind of, you know, you're figuring out that, like, oh, the daughter might actually not be ill. But this movie is especially great because of the acting. I think the acting of both Sarah Paulson and the girl who plays the daughter, I think they were both excellent. I think they're honestly both worthy of Oscar nominations for this movie. Will they get? No, because the Oscars hate horror, apparently. But I do think this is definitely worth watching just for the acting. It was also just like a very fun movie to watch. Like, I was very engaged. It was very suspenseful. I was like, oh, what's gonna happen next? Oh my god, the whole time. So it's just like, that's all I can really ask for a movie like this. I enjoyed it a lot. Number 3, Uncle Frank. I have a whole video on Uncle Frank. This was an Amazon Prime movie that came out on Thanksgiving, starring our girl Sophia Lillis. This was such a heartwarming film. It's about this girl in the South in like the 70s, 80s, and things ensue, and it's just her kind of going on this adventure with her gay uncle and her uncle's lover. And it's fabulous. It's a really, really, really good movie. So if you want to hear more about that or find out more about it, go watch my video on it. Number 2, The Boys in the Band. Another Ryan Murphy always just tends to sneak up on me because he's coming out with like 8 releases a year, and I have no choice but to watch them all. This was excellent. The Boys in the Band was a Netflix film that was adapted from a stage play with the same actors. I think it was all of them. It might have been a couple that were just in the movie and they were different in the Broadway show. I'm not really sure, but the main guys were all in the Broadway show. The Broadway show was a revival of an older play, but like this specific cast was from the revival. And then Ryan Murphy filmed it. They made it like a movie and they put it on Netflix. Very similar to The Prom, where it was a Broadway show and then Ryan Murphy made it into a movie and put it on Netflix. Great. This is just a really, 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 really good movie. It's just like the entire movie takes place kind of over like one scene. It's like this party, this like birthday party between all of these like gay men in New York City, and like I want to say like the 50s or 60s. I could be totally wrong, but it's just like the acting is impeccable. Like it's like Ryan Murphy's Boys. So it's like Jim Parsons, Andrew Rannells, Zachary Quinto, the usual, you know. So I just think that they're all fabulous. I think they should all get Oscar nominations. I think this was honestly probable for an Oscar nomination, considering what I could not tell you honestly like a solid like, yeah, this stuff is gonna get nominated for an Oscar this year, other than like Devil All the Time, because this year was such a flop for movies. But yeah, Boys in the Band, excellent. And number one, once again, kind of breaking the rules, number one, we have Euphoria Rue. If you watch Euphoria and you watch this special and didn't like it, you have missed the entire point of the show. This was flawless. This was some of the best writing I had seen from anything all year. The acting, incredible. Once again, this is kind of like ticking like my film buff boxes of like, I love like elongated dialogue scenes that take place in like one concrete location. I'm a sucker for that stuff. But also objectively, this was an excellent piece of television. But it was like a mini movie, like a short film, a special, so I'm counting it on my movies list. It's not a second season of Euphoria, therefore can't put it with TV. Excellent. Number one. Give them all the awards. Let's move on. Alright, we're in the home stretch. TV. I'm going to start with my 5 ongoing series. So this is like seasons 2s, 3s, whatever. Shows, sequel seasons that released in 2020, but shows that I had been watching already. Whatever. Number 5, The Mandalorian Season 2 on Disney+. Excellent. Excellent. Like, obviously, I was a fan of The Mandalorian before. Really, really solid first season, but I thought the second season, guys, like, there were just so many strong episodes. I thought the first 2 episodes were excellent, the Ahsoka episode was excellent, the finale was excellent. Like, this is just the best that Star Wars has to offer, and I love that we've finally gotten here, because for years, like, Star Wars fans have just been arguing amongst ourselves of, like, just, Star Wars fans are just violent beings, where everyone is just like, no, this is good, this is bad, you can't like that, because it's, and finally, we are in unison, in agreement that The Mandalorian is objectively excellent. So, loved season 2. Apparently there is gonna be a season 3. I don't know how I feel about that. I personally don't need a season 3. I sobbed like a little baby in the finale of season 2. I was very satisfied. And, like, we're getting the Ahsoka show. So, like, I don't know what their plan is. Like, I'll probably watch it, but I don't think they're gonna be able to live up to season 2. So, I don't know. Number 4, Dark Season 3. I've said this before, this is like the best, like, multiple season show on Netflix. It is this German mystery, sci-fi, time travel show. And if you haven't seen it, I don't know what to tell you, because like I said, this is the best, like, multiple season ongoing series on Netflix. It is over now. Season 3 was the final season. They just always top themselves. They just, the quality is consistent. I cried like a little bitch. We're a perfect match. I cried like a little bitch. Yeah, loved it. I've talked about this, what was this, in June, so I talked about it in July. Cinematography, excellent. Twists and turns, acting, everything about it. It's a perfect show. Dark is a perfect show. We've been new. I don't know what else you want me to say. Go watch Dark. Number 3, season 4 of The Good Place. Everybody sit down. I have something to say. So I started watching this show this year. Like, me and my parents watched The Good Place in quarantine, but season 4 ended in 2020, so I'm counting this on this list. The finale of I've said it before and I will say it again, the finale of The Good Place, season 4, the season on this list, is the best finale of any TV show ever. Argue with me. Tell me a better finale to a TV show than the finale of The Good Place. You can't. You can't. It's flawless. It's flawless. It's the most satisfied I have ever been finishing a show. Like, I can't even convey to you how good the finale of The Good Place is, and that just makes the whole season number 3 on this list. It's a great season. Like, the whole season is great. I think it's really good. I think season 1 and season 4 are the strongest. But, like, the finale, impeccable quality. You can't top it. You can't. Sorry about it. Number 2, Umbrella Academy Season 2. I love this goddamn show. Y'all know I love Umbrella Academy. I have a whole playlist of videos that I've done on Umbrella Academy. I love this goddamn show. It's so good. It's so unique. There is nothing like this on TV right now, like to this standard and this quality, and I just, like, season 2 just gave me all the good feels that season 1 did. I just loved all the storylines. I love how they advanced the characters. I love the cinematography and the music, and it was just everything I wanted, like, from a sequel of the first season, which I love so much and was my number one of last year. So very excited for season 3, very excited for the future of Umbrella Academy. I'm a big fan of the comics. I'm a Vanya, Kinney, whatever the fuck the TikTok kids are saying. She's my everything. So yes. And number 1, Sex Education season 2. This is I would say like the second best like ongoing Netflix series. Like Dark is definitely the first quality wise. This one is probably the second and my favorite. I have such a soft spot for sex ed. This is like such a comfort show for me. I think this second season was better than the first season. I think that like just like the characters on this show are so good, and just like the way that they advanced certain character storylines in this season was incredible, and there were just so many moments in this season that made me cry, and it's just one of my favorite shows on TV right now, and it's like one of the only reasons that I still like keep Netflix around, you know? So I'm very excited for season 3. I don't think we're getting it in January like we usually do, but I'm hoping like the summertime maybe. COVID's a bitch. Yeah, love it. Okay, and final list. This is the list I'm most excited about. This is my top 10 miniseries / debuts of 2020. So like I said, this list is either first season, so it can be an ongoing show, but like this was like the debut, the first season, or a miniseries, whatever. Let's just kick things off. Number 10, The Undoing. This is an HBO Max show starring Nicole Kidman, Hugh Grant. I talked about this last month in my recap, I think. This was a 6-episode miniseries that was basically about this family and this mother at the school that their son goes to gets murdered, and it's a murder mystery. It's a whodunit, and it's good. It's really good. It's really solid. It gave me very similar vibes to another show that's on this list, that is higher up on this list. But I was struggling figuring out like what to put on like my number 10 spot here, and I settled on this show because I think it's really good, and I think it's worth watching, and I think the acting in it is really, really good. Number 9, Lock and Key. I need to watch this show again. I haven't watched it since it came out in February. I love this show. Like, this is another show that I just think is, like, really, really fun. It's very flawed, right? Like, a lot of it is, like, really, like, cheesy and kind of dumb and whatever. And the characters are a bit frustrating, but this is a really, really fun show. The cinematography is excellent. Love our boy Jackson Robert Scott as Bodhi, the best character on the show. They're filming season 2 right now. They just got renewed for season 3 as well, I think. So it was based on a graphic novel series. They have a lot of content to work with. Still haven't read the graphic novel, still want to, but we left off on like a big cliffhanger at the end of season 1, so I'm really excited to see what the future holds. Love this show. Number 8, this is a new show that I watched this month, so I will talk about it more in my December recap. I'm filming this before my December recap, and whatever. The Wilds on Amazon Prime. I guarantee that like none of you have seen this show, because I hadn't heard of this show until my homegirl Amanda was talking about it, because I will basically watch anything that she tells me to watch. There were a couple shows that I watched this past month just because she made a video on them and was like, hey, they're good, and I'm like, okay, if you say so. This is one of these shows. Probably would never watched it or heard of it had she not made that video about it. She's my favorite YouTuber, so you should go watch her. Anyway, excellent show. It's about all these girls, and they're like on this like private jet going to this like feminist retreat, whatever their parents are making them go on, and the plane crash lands in the ocean. They're stranded on this island, and things happen. I can't tell you anything more without spoiling things, but it's excellent. It has a bunch of great female characters, a lot of great LGBTQ plus representation among said female characters, among a couple of them. I really like how it's structured, where it has like an episode per character, where it sort of like delves into their backstory and then like intermits that with like what's happening on the island. I just think it's a fantastic show, and you should watch it. I finished it in like 2 days. It was very like, I was really into it. So love that. Number 7 is Ratchet. Ryan Murphy, here he is again. Ratchet, which was like a take on a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest prequel on Netflix. It's a Netflix show starring Sarah Paulson, once again my favorite person on the planet. This was an excellent show. I don't know what I expected from this. Like I definitely expected to like it, but this really, really, really blew me out of the water. I thought like the cinematography especially was absolutely stunning. Sarah Paulson always comes and eats. Always. She always comes and brings 11 out of 10. It's just what you expect from her, and she always delivers. I think it was such a fun show. I watched it with my parents. We all really enjoyed it. We watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest beforehand to sort of like refresh. But like I definitely don't think that you need to do that to watch this show. Like I don't think you need any prior knowledge of the movie to watch this show, because I think they're very, very different. It just has like a character in common. It's just sort of providing a backstory for her. But yeah, it kind of seems like by the end of it, they're getting a second season. I would rather them not do a second season. I think that the first season was good, but considering how it left off, like they probably will, and I'll watch it because it's Sarah Paulson. So, yes. Number 6, Defending Jacob. My video on the pilot got taken down because Apple TV hates me, but I'm pretty sure my video on the finale is still up. Excellent show, starring our boy Jaden Martell on Apple TV, Chris Evans. It was like a 7-episode miniseries. Fantastic show. This is basically about this boy named Jacob Barber, and he's basically a suspect in the murder of this boy at his school, and it's sort of about his dad, like his parents, sort of like struggling with this trial. And it's so good. The finale is so good. Like I said, I have a video on the finale. Jade Martell is incredibly talented. We knew this. We knew this. My entire brand is just hyping up the It Kids. Like, we knew this. But if you haven't seen it already, find a way to watch it. It's really, really good. Number 5 is The Haunting of Bly Manor, the long-awaited sequel to The Haunting of Hill House. So this I counted on my miniseries list because each season is isolated, like American Horror Story. It's like its own contained story, so The Haunting of Bly Manor was completely disconnected from The Haunting of Hill House. Love The Haunting of Bly Manor. We love a lesbian ghost story. We love a lesbian ghost story. Thank you, Mike Flanagan. Anyway, cinematography, beautiful. This is a take on the Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This also had the movie Turning, starring Finn Wolfhard. Same source material. Very, very different. I love what Mike Flanagan did with this. I really think he took this, like I've said a million times, this very, very, very boring book and made it something really interesting. I thought the acting was fantastic. Danny and Jamie, like I said. I cried through the whole final episode. What did you want me to say? Victoria Pedretti's my queen. I can't wait to see what the next book is, what the next season is going to be based off of. I just think Mike Flanagan can do no wrong. He's an impeccable filmmaker. He can do no wrong. Excellent season. Number 4, Little Fires Everywhere on Hulu. This, oh my god, what a show. I'm actually reading the book right now. So this was a Hulu show that was based on a book starring Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington, and it was just basically about this, small suburban town, and nonsense ensues. But it has a lot to say about, sort of society and racism and microaggressions and class, and I just think there are so many good themes. It's a very, edge of your seat kind of show. It's kind of like you sit down and you outline the scan. It's one of those that you, watch in 2 days. Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington are both incredible. Awesome show. I have a whole live stream where I rambled about it after I finished watching it, if you want to go watch that. Number 3, We Are Who We Are. No shocker here. HBO's We Are Who We Are, starring Jacqueline Grazer and Jordan Simone. I have made countless videos on this show, as you know if you've been around my channel the past couple of months. I can't say anything about the show that I haven't already said, especially in my We Are Who We Are wrap-up, where I reviewed the show as a whole and talked about all my thoughts. What else do you want me to say about We Are Who We Are, other than that it's an excellent show? It's number 3 on this list because I feel like the ending left me very unsatisfied, and I'm kind of just up in the air on how I feel about certain things until we know we're getting a continuation or not. But it's there are so many amazing things about the show. Number 2, I Am Not Okay With This. This show, it's hard to believe that this came out this year, because I feel like this show has been in my heart my whole life. This show means a lot to me. I don't want to talk about the fact that it got canceled. We're not going to talk about the fact that it got canceled. COVID's a bitch. But this is such a solid miniseries. It's a little over 2 hours because the episodes are 20 minutes. You can get through it in one sitting. I did so with Chloe. I also have a whole playlist of videos about this show. I could not praise this show enough. The characters mean so much to me. The story means so much to me. It's one of my favorite miniseries ever, and I love it so much. And number 1, no surprise whatsoever I hope that this is no surprise to anybody, because I cannot sing this show's praises enough. Number 1, the best show of 2020, The Queen's Gambit on Netflix. Who's shocked? Shouldn't be you. It shouldn't be you, because I think I've managed to mention the show in every video that I've made over the past 2 months. Because it's the best. It's the best miniseries ever made. We know this. We know this. It's starring Anya Taylor-Joy, and it's about a chess prodigy in the 60s. And I know you're gonna be like, that sounds boring. No. I promise you, it's 6 episodes. You can get through it in a day and a half. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. Come talk about Beth and Benny with me, because they own my heart and soul. I've already read all the fanfics. There's over 100 of them. I've read them all. I need people to fuel my obsession. So if you've seen it and you're as much of a simp for Beth and Benny as I am, come talk to me. Anyway, that was really long. Oh my god, talking. Okay, so that was my best of 2020 list. I really want to see yours. Please comment down below with yours. They don't have to be like a super coherent like top 10 if you don't want, but like tell me some of your favorite stuff you saw this year. I would love to know. We can chat. With that being said, thank you for watching me this year. I will see you guys in 2021. So, comment, like, and subscribe. Press the notification bell so you know when I upload a new video. Links in the description for my website, my social media, my merch, my second channel, ways you can help with Black Lives Matter, all that important stuff. This has been a really great dinner and a year, but thanks for coming over.